And welcome to Sports and Hip Hop with DJ Mad Max. We are live with the one and only, one of the illest MCs of all time, in my opinion. Keeping it real, still here in 2021, Skyzoo.
Oh
Skyzoo,
man,
what is going
I
on, man?
appreciate I appreciate that intro, man. How you doing?
Doing pretty well. Congratulations on the new album, all the brilliant things. I know you've been working really hard to get that put together, and you released it this year. And man, what a project. When you listen to this, you hear Brooklyn in it and you hear New
Yeah,
York in it. You
yeah.
implemented the jazz beats into it. It's 100% a true school hip hop album.
Thank you, man. That's real. You hit the nail on the head, as they say. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
definitely what the vibe of it is, and what I'm talking about, and what the moral of it all is. That is a part of the fabric for sure.
Gentrification, that's the main theme of the album. Even in the album cover, you're showing your son, this is where another place used to be. And it relates
Right.
back to me where I grew up, because I grew up in a black community in Connecticut. And I noticed as soon as I started getting older, the white stores started to move in. They took out all the sneakers and the clothing stores and started moving in J. Crews and all this stuff. It's crazy how time has progressed, and you have these white people that infiltrate the black communities and move their stores in. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, you know what it's really about is we're cool with like everyone coming in. I think when people think gentrification, they think, oh, you just don't want certain types of people to come in. No, not at all. Like, we're totally cool with everybody coming in and enjoying the neighborhood. It's all about unity and coming together. But what it breaks down to is, don't kick us out in order for you to live here and enjoy here. Enjoy it with us. Come on in, enjoy it with us, and we can all be one and enjoy whatever it was that brought you here. You sought this neighborhood out for a reason. Let's keep it there and let's enjoy it together. That's what it's all about.
Brooklyn has changed in so many ways. Even when I visit there, it's insane. You were someone that grew up there. Can you believe how much has changed over there since being there when you were a kid?
Yeah, it's mind blowing, man. It's definitely mind blowing. You don't think when you're growing up, when you're a kid, you don't foresee these things happening. You don't understand it. You never think home is gonna change. You think home is home and that's it. And then when it starts to change, you're like, wow, look at this, and it's very it's mind blowing, man. And it takes you back a little bit. And you have to really sit back and analyze the situation. And that's what I'm doing with the record, is hoping that people hear it and it starts conversation and dialogue even within themselves. You may not notice things happening around you, and it's like, okay, now I notice it. Someone put me on, someone made me aware of what I should be aware of.
Do you think Queens is experiencing that, or other boroughs in New York is experiencing gentrification on the level of Brooklyn?
Not on the same level, no. Is it happening everywhere else? Yeah, absolutely, but not on the level of Brooklyn. See, gentrification, a large part of it is proximity, at least in New York. It's how close can you get to Manhattan. That's how it started. So the first area to get hit was Williamsburg, because people were afraid to move to Brooklyn, or they didn't want to, because Brooklyn had such a bad rap back then. And they said, well, if I gotta live in Brooklyn because I can't live in Manhattan because it's overcrowded, it's too many people, it's getting too expensive. If I gotta live in Brooklyn, Williamsburg is only one stop on the train away from Manhattan. I could ride the train for 2.5 minutes from Brooklyn to Manhattan and be okay with that. I could go to my house, stay there, not mess with anybody outside and have to worry about all the Brooklyn activity, and just walk to the L train and take it one stop into Manhattan. So that's what started it. And it was there, and it was Dumbo, because you can get to Manhattan quickly and Dumbo as well on the F train. That's what started it. And then from there, Williamsburg got overcrowded. So they went to Bushwick, then they pushed back. They went to Bed-Stuy, then they pushed back. They went to Fort Greene, they went to Clinton Hill, and it just spread out. Now it's all over. And then the Barclay was really the nail in the coffin, because once the Barclay Center broke ground, it was, okay, we've got to build stuff around this to support this. You can't have the Barclay Center in the middle of all this old school Brooklyn activity. You got to have cafes, you got to have restaurants, you got to have bars, you got to have wineries, you got to have all these different things, condos and high rises to support the Barclay Center. And then that's when it all just went haywire.
Do you think Jay-Z kind of played a part in all that happening, because he had a big thing to do with the Barclays Center, especially with the Brooklyn Nets?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely helped bring the Barclay Center in. I don't think his intention was to bring in gentrification and tear Brooklyn apart. Not at all. It was doing something that had never been done. A rapper from the projects being a part of $1 billion franchise and $1 billion stadium. Can't be mad at that. There was just a lot of ramifications that came with where they put it. But no, he, I don't think it was his thought to say, yo, we're gonna tear up Brooklyn and, you know, do this and this and this and kick people out of their homes. Not at all. Not at all. He's a guy from there. It was how am I doing something that's next level? Being a part of an NBA franchise, being a part of the opening of a stadium, of an arena, you know? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why not?
Even though we hate the Nets because we're Knicks fans, I couldn't
Oh
believe
yeah,
I couldn't
100%.
even believe all these Knicks fans on Twitter. Oh, go Nets! I have no hatred. That you're not a true Knicks fan. If
Nah,
you're going for the Nets, you're not a true Knicks fan because we hate them.
yeah, 100%. We you won't find me in that circle
No.
saying go Nets. You know what I mean? You know, I jokingly say, you know, they're the gentrified Nets. They literally are what gentrification is. They came from another state and now they rep Brooklyn and they act like they're from Brooklyn. And it's Brooklyn, 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 but you're not from Brooklyn. You don't really represent what Brooklyn is. You know what I mean? You're from another state. So yeah, they literally embody what gentrification is.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. And I couldn't believe all the fans in the building at these playoff series, especially against the Bucks. I think a lot of those Net fans are just tourists and bandwagons.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, 100%. They're people who just moved to Brooklyn. They've been there for a year from any other city you want to point out in the country. And now they feel obligated to rep. You know, they have no allegiance to the Knicks, so they're obligated to rep.
And other things that were in topics with gentrification in Brooklyn, when you heard the news that they wanted to get rid of the painting of the Biggie mural.
Right. Yeah, it's wild, man. It's wild. You have to leave culture and let culture be. You got to let it be, you know, and that's it. Got to let it be.
Do you think rap is gentrified? Because the sound has changed 100%. I have a conspiracy theory where I do think that there have been white people that have infiltrated the music business into the hip hop scene and have dumbed it down. They want the music sounding stupid pretty much, in which it does. It's all partying. It's the mumble rap. It's this, it's that. Do you feel as though that's why artists like you don't get the shine and praise that they deserve? Like you have your underground following. You have your following, but how come we don't hear Skyzoo on New York hip hop radio stations and all these other stations around the world, which you should be hearing because it is the true school hip hop sound for New York.
Right. No, I totally get what you mean. And that's a great point that you made, you know, as far as the infiltration and things like that. You know, I don't like to try to make it too much about one thing because for the record, man, there've been a lot of people that are not of color, a lot of white people who have contributed wonderful things to hip hop, you know, whether it's Eminem or Rick Rubin, you know, like there's so many people, some Search, of course, you know, people behind the scenes, even if they're not an artist, like I named artists and producers just now, but even if they're not an artist or producer, execs that have had a huge helping hand in this thing going where we wanted it to go. But at the same time, there are twice as many that are running hip hop a different way, you know, and attempting to run hip hop a different way. And you know, we just got to be privy to that and be careful of that. And we got to continue to have some type of control. It's not about not letting other people in who don't look like us. It's about us continuing to maintain some sort of balance and control in this thing so that when other people are coming in to contribute, they understand what we want and what we need and what's important and what we're doing, because this is something we created, so that when they contribute, it goes hand in hand with what we're doing and not tearing it apart and turning it into something else. That's all it really comes down to, you know?
And I think what I brought up before relates to the song on your album. I was supposed to be a trap rapper. Am I right? Am I hitting that on the nail?
A little bit. Yeah. A little bit.
Because that's how it is. Like in the industry, I feel as though all these artists out here are coerced into sounding like an artist from the South, a trap rapper, and it's not right. That's not our sound. It's just not. Do you have a problem with how the trap rappers sound? Because I mean, they said that is the Florida sound, but then I think of what about Outkast? They had their own style and it wasn't mumble rap.
Right. To me, trap rap, I feel like trap rap is from Atlanta, you know, and being somebody who lives in Atlanta now, who's lived here for a few years now, I feel like trap rap is Atlanta, you know, and of course it hit other cities, Florida and different places in the South, Texas and all that, but it just feels like trap rap is the product of Atlanta, and that's great because that's their sound, you know, like that's their sound, man, and be proud of what you create and be proud of your sound. But when you're from other places trying to pretend to do this and pretend to be that just to get a paycheck and just to get on, that's when it becomes a problem. Because, you know, when New York was running the scene, whether it was radio and TV and the New York sound was running everything, People from the South weren't trying to sound like us. Outkast wasn't making records to sound like Gang Starr. You know what I mean? They just appreciated Gang Starr. They appreciated Pete Rock and CL. They appreciated, the Locks, but they weren't trying to sound like them. They sounded like where they was from. And they knew over time it would come back to them and they would help bring it back. Whereas in New York, a lot of us, especially this new young generation, it's just about getting to the bag, and I'm all about the bag because we need as many as possible, but it's about getting to the bag. So they say, oh, whatever's winning, whatever's working. Oh, this is what Heads is on, we're going to do that. Oh, that's what Heads is on, we're going to do this. Okay, cool. And that's where the issue comes in because you don't see other cities and places doing that. Chicago is not running around trying to sound like, anyone else but Chicago. LA is not running around trying to sound like anyone but LA, but for whatever reason, New York sounds like, and not all of New York, obviously you got me and other artists, but the majority of what is pumped out from New York on the radio and TV and mainstream sounds like whatever's hot right now because it's just about getting to the bag. And if this is what works, then let's do it.
I usually don't say give out these awards, but I'm putting yours up for album of the year. I usually give it to only the true school hip hop heads out here because I said the Diamond D when he was on my show a few weeks ago, his project with Talib Kweli, Gotham, that's up there. Lloyd Banks' new album's up there. That's the hip hop that we need played and need to be heard. Forget the Brooklyn drill rap all the time. I mean, even that's kind of, if you think about it, gentrification. That's not our real sound. That was taken from the UK.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel you 100%, man. And I appreciate the sentiments on the album. It's an album that I'm extremely proud of. And the response has been so crazy. There's so many people who feel like you, who are like, yo, this is the best album of the year. Bottom line, I don't care what else dropped. This is the album of the year. And, that's amazing, man, because, when I make records, I just set out to make the best records possible. And whatever comes with it, comes with it. Album of the year, this, whatever. My goal is to just make the best record possible and then let the chips fall.
My favorite song off the album is Bodega Flowers. I think that's an amazing song. The beat, just your cadence and flow on there it's impeccable. It's insane. Do you feel as though that you've gotten your flowers throughout your career? Do you feel as though that you have received your flowers?
At times, yeah, for sure. There's so many people, like I said, that feel like you. There's so many people from fans to, people in the media to, my peers, other artists and producers, artists that I looked up to growing up, and now they're my peers that look at me and go, yo, you're one of the dopest, you're one of the best, you're one of the greats, you're, all that stuff. And that's getting your flowers. Do I feel like I'm underrated at the same time? Absolutely.
100%.
But I do get the love. I do get love. I don't want to take that away from anyone who's ever shown me love, because people could say, wait a minute, I show you mad love, man. You don't notice me showing you love, you know what I mean? And those people need to be recognized and appreciated. And that love needs to be, shown with a spotlight on it. So I appreciate all that, 100%. I get my flowers at times. I'll say at times.
Yeah, that's important. You got to give your flowers to the artists that are really grinding out here and working. There's a ton of you guys out here that just deserve the airplay. And the whole Griselda movement is dope. I think Dave East is doing his thing in New York, but unfortunately we're in the money market now, and just certain things aren't going. But you've been working for a while, and it's time for you to really cherish the moments here. When I listen to this album, of course you think of a Spike Lee joint, but another movie that wasn't even associated with Spike Lee, when I hear this album, as well as some of the work on your discography, because you love so much jazz music, is the movie Sugar Hill, Wesley Snipes. Because if you listen to that, it had that jazz element to it in the movie.
Tons of jazz. The score was like a jazz soundtrack. Yeah.
That's what that reminds me of. And it was a straight movie. It was very cinematic.
Thank you, man. You truly got it, because everything you're pointing out is spot on.
You grew up on jazz, Miles Davis. Johnny Coltrane,
Horace Silver, Lee Morgan, Nina Simone, Lena Horne, Ahmad Jamal, Art Blakey, the list goes on and on. Those are guys who I got it later. When I was a little kid, I didn't get it. I didn't care to get it. I just wanted to hear Wu. I wanted to hear Wu-Tang and Mobb Deep and, Biggie and Nas and Jay and Outkast. Like, I didn't care to get it as a kid. But as I got older, I think I was in college when it really struck a chord and it hit me. And once I got hit with it, I never turned back. I was like, I'm on this road. And it's just been jazz ever since.
I don't understand why the youth doesn't attract to this sound, because when I hear a boom bap and someone really rapping over, that's an art form. What you do is an art form. What these guys are doing out here, just getting into the bag, it's that microwave rap as we affiliate it with. And
Yeah, well, jazz is slower, and it's classy, and it's dignified, and it's laid back. So it's hard for the youth to get into that. So I understand it, because as a kid I wasn't into it. My dad would play jazz, and my words as a 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid, I literally would say to him, Dad, this music is stupid. They don't even have words. Like, that's what I used to say to him. This music is stupid. They don't even have words. And he looked at me and said, one day you're going to love this stupid music. I bet you. You watch. And he was right, because I fell in love with it head over heels. Like, if I met Nia Long or something, you know what I mean? I fell in love head over heels. Like, yo, what is this? Like, and then I just been hooked ever since my college years. So I would say, so I guess I'd say like 20 years almost. Wow. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I've just been madly in love with jazz.
can't forget not only what you did, but what Pete Rock did with jazz, and also Easy Mo B working with Miles Davis back in the day.
100%, 100%. Mo B was the last one to work with Miles, got the last album with him before he passed, and gave him a hip hop sound.
Mm-hmm.
Miles was very big on what the sound was, whatever was moving at the moment. How can I do that while still being me? And how can I blend the two? So when it became about, rock, you heard Bitches Brew. When it became about funk, you heard On the Corner, like all those different things. And when it became about hip hop, you're talking what, 1990, 1991, I think, when Doo-Bop dropped, it became Doo-Bop, which was his final album. And he went and got with a hip hop producer. He got with Mo B. And Mo B, from the neighborhood, from Lafayette Garden Project, shout to Mo B. He knocked it out the park,
Mm-hmm. Do you think hip hop is the genre of music that can work with any genre of music? Because we've seen
Yes,
it work with
100%.
jazz, R&B, and unfortunately country. I mean, we've seen that happen. But rock would walk this
100%,
way.
man. 100%. It is the one thing that makes sense with everything. And I think it's because of the drums and the storytelling, and the fact that, hip hop isn't about singing. It's not about large, grandiose vocals. So you can fit in all these different worlds, right? You got this huge voice. It's hard to do that with pop. It's hard to do that with, different things like that, but the hip hop, it literally can walk in every world. And that's why it runs the world right now. That's why it's been running the world for the past 20 something, 25 years, maybe. It runs the world because it can walk in every realm of life as far as music and culture and sound. Absolutely.
Can you believe that? I mean, we can believe it, but that it took up to this point in time for hip hop to reach the number one genre. Because when you look at the 90s, that's when it should have been the number one genre, because
Right.
that was at an all-time high. You had Nas, Jay-Z, EPM. We can go on and on with the hip hop artists from the golden age. But can you believe that now is when it finally became the number one genre? Because that was the golden era.
Yeah, well, because it became more relatable as time went on, as amazing and prolific as Nas and Jay and all that early stuff was in the mid and late 90s, it's hard for a little 10-year-old kid to relate to that, or even understand it or appreciate it. But the larger hip hop got, the more it spread its wings out on a pop level and a kid level and all these different things, where other people can enjoy it and relate to it and accept it. The problem became when they started to push all that other stuff out the way. There was nothing wrong with hip hop growing and spreading its wings. And now you've got a hip hop song in a McDonald's commercial. I mean, I love that. I did music for Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah.
I've done music for the NBA. I've done music for 2K. I've done music for ESPN and HBO. And you love that, especially on the business end, because you love the checks, but there has to be a way for all of it to coincide. And that's been the problem since corporate America kind of took over hip hop. That there has to be a way for all of it to coincide. We should still be able to hear, you should hear Doja Cat on the radio, and then the next song should be me or Joel Ortiz. And then the next song after that can go back to Drake. And then the next song after that can come back to, I don't know, Dave East, Griselda, like how you said earlier, like that's the balance, because you get that in other genres. In other genres, you get that balance. You'll hear Kenny G, and you'll hear Miles Davis, and you'll hear Dave Koz, and you'll hear Horace Silver, You hear Diane Reeves. These are all jazz musicians, and they'll bounce back and forth between genres and eras and styles. Hip hop is one thing, whatever's going to get the paper. But there's a way for all of it to get the paper if it's marketed right and done right and pushed right for the people to support. And that's the problem.
You've said in the past that you believe that The World Is Yours is the greatest hip hop beat in the world, produced by Pete Rock. What did it mean for you to have the person who created, the legend who created the greatest hip hop beat in the world, make an album with you, Retropolitan?
It was great. It was great. Pete is a legend. He's top 3 of all time. Shout out to Pete. Amazing dude to work with. Super cool. We did the and it was great. Working with him, it was an honor. You go to the crib, you pick from a million beats because he has a million, you know what I mean? And you pick beats and then you break them down and break them down and break them down. And then you wind up with 12, 13 joints and then you get to work. And that's the way it went down. And there were a couple beats he brought in the middle of the sessions. Like we go to the studio today and he bring in a new beat he made last night. So that beat knocks off a beat that I already had that I wanted to use. I'm like, well, this new beat, I can't patch this up. So I gotta, who knows what the future holds? I don't know if a sequel will come someday, you never know. But if it doesn't, I got a Pete Rock album. I'm cool. You know what I mean?
That's legendary, but you have a lot of production credits from legends in the game. Illmind, many legendary producers.
Albums with Illmind, Apollo
Ninth Wonder,
Brown, Pete Rock, Ninth for
Premier.
sure. Like I've been blessed to be able to, we've done records. Like I've been blessed to do a solo album and then do a collabo album with a huge producer or artist, and then do a solo album and do a collab. Like I've been blessed to really work my career out a certain way that I'm very happy and proud to do. And the way I was able to figure out how to get what I want out of this thing while being me.
With your father, I've heard the story about your father. He's your biggest fan now, but in the beginning, he wanted you to go the school route, but you had to find your way into becoming a rapper and proving to him, I'm nice with this. And this goes back plenty of times when you started getting calls from, I believe, Bad Boy. Is that who was calling you?
Yeah, when I was in high school, my dad was doing what a dad is supposed to do, which is make sure your kid is straight and will be straight for the foreseeable future. So in his mind, it was, music is cool. I don't come from a musical family. I don't come from a family where this person sang and this person played the instrument. I'm the first person in my family to do anything musically. So it truly is a gift from God because it's not in my genes or my DNA, but my dad was doing what a dad is supposed to do. So it was, music is cool, but that's a pipe dream. That's like going to the NBA. There's 450 players in the NBA. There's 10 billion kids on a basketball court around the world. That's like a 2% chance of making it. You know what I mean? So like he was doing what a dad does. And he was like, man, you need to focus on something real, something that's going to be there, something that's going to work out and is guaranteed to work out. It's not based on somebody else letting you in. It's based on you getting yourself in, like being a doctor or being, like going to school and things of that nature. He wanted me to be a dentist, because he felt like that was just something that you make your own rules and you get it and you get the money and you get the security and you're fine. And that just wasn't my calling. I tried it. I went to college and I tried it and I was double majoring because I went to SUNY Farmingdale. I was double majoring because I was also an English major because I just loved writing and I've been a rapper and writer my whole life. And it just wasn't my calling, but over time, he understood. And when he saw me becoming successful and saw me doing my own thing, he was super proud. And he's my biggest fan. He's one of my mom's, of course, he's one of my biggest fans. And he gets it. He's like, yo, you had to make your own way. I wanted you to do this because I didn't want you to struggle. You figured out a way to do what you wanted to do and not struggle. So I applaud you. I can't be mad at that. I applaud you. You did it your way.
How about the time when you were going to throw your demo tape on stage in a Madison Square Garden performance with Puff Daddy?
I was 14, man. I was 14. My mom's took me for my birthday. I was turning 15. And I had been to a concert before that. It was like a kids' Easter jam. They used to do those all the time in Flatbush in Brooklyn. the Easter concert for the kids and all that. But it was the first one that I could really remember just being all the way engulfed in, and it was like heaven on earth, man. And I remember I had my demo tape that I made in my man's room with the turntables and the mic, the wired mic, and yeah, just me rhyming over two instrumentals. I think there was two Biggie instrumentals, me just freestyling. And it said Skyzoo demo tape, and it had my house number. It had my mother's number in the projects. And I had it in my pocket, in my coat pocket, and I reached for it. And I had it in my hand, and my mother looked at me and she said, if you throw that tape on that stage, I'm gonna slap you so hard in here. You know what I mean? I was like 14, I was a kid. She was like, don't you dare throw no tape on no stage and get us kicked out. Cause I was gonna just chuck it. You know what I mean? We wasn't front row. So I was gonna chuck it, just, bang, I was just gonna chuck it at the stage. And my mother was like, don't you dare. And I really was gonna do it, but then I chilled.
Then eventually, actually, after the concert, you were in a local store and you saw someone that worked for Bad Boy. And that's when you were with a friend and you gave him the tape and you spit a couple bars. And I believe your father came around the corner and heard you rap. And he was like, so this is what you're doing?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You did your research, man. Yep. All that happened, man. I saw this dude with a Bad Boy jacket on, man, and I just froze. Me and my friends is in the corner store. We was in Queens. This is when my father had moved to Queens. So I was living in Queens and Brooklyn, going back and forth. And we was in South Jamaica, Queens, man, South Side. And me and my mans is in the corner store buying fucking Snapples or quarter waters, whatever. And I see this dude at the corner, at the counter with a Bad Boy jacket, and I just froze. And I was like, what? Because I knew to get one, you had to be on the team. And I was like, what? And I met him, and he said his name was Sean Prez. He's still in the industry now. I think Sean works with Hennessy now, but his name was Sean Prez. And we built, and I said, yo, I'm the nicest thing you never heard. And he was like, all right, let me hear you. And we went to his car, and I went crazy. 100 bars. And he took my number, and he called my house the next day. You know what I mean? Like, yo, what's up? What's up, shorty? And we was building, So it was cool. Even though it didn't go nowhere, it was cool to get that validation. At 15 years old, to get those little signs of validation was all I needed to just keep this thing running.
Once you get that validation from someone that big in the industry and has been around the greats such as Biggie and all the people that have been on Bad Boy records, then you're golden. And it's just when and where.
Exactly. That's all it was.
And how about the story? We've heard that a million times. The Ruff Ryders, you were babysitting your younger brother. You couldn't go out that night, but eventually you became friends with the Locks, especially Jadakiss.
Right. 100%. 100%. Same thing. You know what I mean? Like, everything happens for a reason, man. But I got invited up to Powerhouse to go crazy on a Saturday night, and I was 16. And again, I was in Queens, because my pops, we had moved to South Jamaica, Queens. So I was in Queens. And my parents went out, and it was me and my little brother. And if I was 16, that means he was, what was he, about 9? Yeah, so he was about 9. And I couldn't drag my 9-year-old brother on the train to Yonkers. Queens to Yonkers is like an hour and a half commute, on local transit. You know what I mean? On public transportation, train to another train, to another train, to the Metro North, to the bus. It's a real drive. I mean, it's a real ride. So I couldn't do that. I knew I couldn't do that. When I got that call, yo, they here right now, come through. Everybody coming tonight, come through. And you heard the stories of how everybody would just be at Powerhouse just rhyming their face off. And whoever was the last man standing would probably get a deal. And I was 16, man, and they wanted to throw me in the ring with grown wolves, 25, 30 years old. And I was ready. But I couldn't do it. I was like, if I take my little 9-year-old brother to Yonkers on a Saturday night when my parents is on date night, I'm going to die when I get home. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to die. Like, if I didn't have him, I would have been able to go because I could have just, I'm going out. And I could have just went out at 16. I'm going out. All right, cool. We'll see you later. But having him, nah, I couldn't do that. Weed smoke and Hennessy all in the studio and he's 9. Nah, I couldn't do it.
But eventually you did make the connection. You were able to form a bond with the legendary artists of the Locks, because that's your favorite group of all time, Money, Power, Respect.
100%. 100%. Yep. Those is Those are my superheroes, man. Every time I talk to them, I tell them thank you. No matter how often we talk, I tell them thank you. I spoke to Jada last week, and I was like, yo, we was talking about my album, and then I just was like, as always, bro, thank you. You one of my superheroes. You know what
What
I
did
mean?
he say
So
about the
every
new
time I
album?
talk to him, oh, he was like, yo, I'm definitely gonna tap in. I'm seeing it everywhere. I think it was the day it dropped. I hit him. I just hit him with the link the day that it dropped. And he was like, yo, congratulations, bro. Like, it's always love. And I'm gonna tap in right now. Good looks on sending me the link. I'm gonna tap in. And I was just like, yo, man, I gotta tell you, bro, you my superhero, man. Like, them guys raised me, man. If I saw Jadakiss name on the tape, I saw the Locks name on the tape, the world stopped. Like, hold on. Nothing matters for the next 5 minutes. I need to hear this. Like, those is my guys.
Those are your guys. Mellow Music Group. What's it like being under them now? Because that's fully independent.
Yeah, it's great. I love working with Mello. Apollo brought me into the situation about 5 years ago. I want to say, yeah, about 5 years ago. It's great. You know what I mean? Dope company, dope label. They're a indie that moves like a major as far as the way they get busy, the looks that they push for you to get, even the way they put their product together and the way they put it out, their marketing. They think like a major. They're an indie that thinks like a major, which is great. It's kind of the best of both worlds. So shout to Mellow Music. This is our, I think, 4th project. Yeah, this is our 4th project together. So it's been all love.
And Raheem Devon's on there too, and he's a collaborator with you on the new album.
Yeah,
You've been
I
cool
helped
for
put that
years.
together. I helped put that together. Me and Apollo was on tour, and he was talking about doing an R&B album, like a collabo R&B album with somebody. And he was trying to think of who made sense. And, I was like, yo, what would you think about working with Raheem? He was like, hell yeah, I'm a huge Raheem fan. I just didn't think I could ever get to him. And I was like, man, Raheem is my brother, man. Like, that's family, you know what I mean? So I hit Raheem right away. And Raheem was like, yo, yeah, introduce me. Like, I'm definitely interested. And that was it, and they became a duo and put the album out, and the album is incredible. And it's been great.
I have an interesting question for you. Being born in Brooklyn and eventually your father moving to Queens, so you spent time in Queens, and there's a Brooklyn Queens connection with this artist with Nas named AZ. We know of him; he's a legend. Have you had the chance to work with him or even met AZ?
No, I haven't worked with him or met him yet. I don't think I've ever been around him. I think I might have saw him once at the Brooklyn Hip Hop Fest many years ago, but now I've never got the chance to build with him. But Brooklyn legend, Brooklyn OG, still move young, which I love. You know what I mean? Like, you see AZ, he's always fly, 24/7. That's Brooklyn shit. That's mid-90s Brooklyn shit. Like, fly, coming out with the leather and the fresh cut and the whip and the jewels and the cologne. That's Brooklyn shit, man. You know what I mean? So he embodies that, and I love that about him. And the music, of course, is A1. So it's all good things.
Or Dies a classic. Pieces of a
Absolutely.
Man's a classic.
Word up. Yeah, he got a lot of joints in the chamber.
Yeah, Asiatic. So do you. What's it mean when you see in the reviews, in the music reviews especially, that The Salvation is a classic album? What's that mean for you?
It means a ton because it's your debut. You know what I mean? And the greats have classic debut albums. Nas, Jay, Big,
DMX.
Ghetto Boys, DMX, Snoop. You know what I mean? Like, the greats, Black Star, and you know what I mean? Like, the greats have classic debut albums, like out the gate.
Big
They had
Pun.
50 Cent, you know what I mean? Big Pun, 50 Cent, the greats have classic debuts. So to be looked at in that light is wonderful.
Something that people may not know about you is that you are related to Charlamagne. You guys are cousins.
Yeah, little random fact. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah, my whole family is from South Carolina. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, but my whole family's from South Carolina. So that's the connection to that, and that's family. So much love to him, of course. And he's doing his thing and killing it. I don't really go to that well like that. People be like, yo, why don't you just call him? Nah. And that's fam. Like, it's love. Anytime I see him or speak to him, it's nothing but love. I'm not that type though. I'm not that type to, yo, what's up? Yo, I need this, I need that. That's just not me. I've never been that type of person.
Yeah, and it's good that you're not. It shows that you can do things on your own and you don't rely on someone like him to get your work pushing.
Right. Yeah,
The work
I
speaks
do
for
it.
itself.
Yeah, like I've been on the Breakfast Club. Actually, when I was on the Breakfast Club, I was on the Breakfast Club through Angela Yee, who I'm really cool with. I didn't even go to Charlamagne, and that's my cousin. I went to Angela because we was cool. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and we was building. Angela lives in the neighborhood and all that, and we was building, and she was like, yeah, for sure. You know what I mean? And we hooked it up. You know, and that was a while ago. That was like 10 years ago. But yeah, so I didn't even go through Charlamagne. You know what I mean? Like
And
that's just how I move.
you didn't even give the CD to Angela Yee, A Dream Deferred. You gave it to Envy and Charlamagne in the interview.
Didn't even remember that. Well, you know why? Because she probably had it already. She
Yeah.
probably had it already. That's why. Yeah. Because yeah. Because yes, because she babysat my dog. She used to babysit my dog for me when I would go on tour sometimes because we're really cool. Like, you know, like she lived in the neighborhood and she would watch my dog when I would go out of town, just holding me down as a favor. So I gave it to her then. That's why she didn't get it. That's the only reason why she didn't get it, because she already had it. You know what I mean? So
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, you said that in the interview, you know, I gave it to you already.
yeah,
But
she
just
already
think
had
about
it.
that. 10 years ago, we were still enjoying the hard copy CDs, and those have gone away. Now everything's digital, everything's
Now we're in
mobile.
the
But you
stream.
do have
We're in
the
the stream thing.
vinyls. You have the vinyls coming out of all the brilliant things.
Yeah, vinyl is huge, man. Vinyl has made an amazing resurgence. I'm very happy about that. I hope it never goes away because vinyl is like the coolest shit in the world, man. Like, you know, like it is a different sound, a different experience, and it's a whole different vibe. So, you know, I love it. And I'm very happy that that resurgence is here. And yeah, the vinyl comes out, I think, the end of July. It actually, the pre-orders already sold out. They sold out like the first week that it was announced. But I know there's another run being announced on the Mellow Music Group website, so it's available out there for sure.
Tyrese, you're very close with. How about the time when he brought you to Mary J. Blige's house?
Man, your research is impeccable, man.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, your research is impeccable. Yep, that's my bro. And yeah, we hung out at Mary's, man, and that was a blast. Shout to Mary and Elle and all the people that was there. It was a blast. Yeah, Reese's family, you know, Reese is my fam. Not literal, not like Charlamagne, but Reese is that's my bro. You know, that's family in that regard. And it's all love.
You think you could make a collaboration track with Tyrese, or has there been talks? You talked with him before about doing something?
Sure,
Yeah.
we definitely could. We definitely could. He posted a picture on his page 2 weeks ago of me, him, and my other man, Chris Classic, kind of putting us as a group. You know what I mean? So like, you know, that's what I mean when I say that's family, man. So you never know what the future holds.
You also gotten into the film business too, being in certain roles and even writing some roles and scripts.
Yeah, definitely. It's another avenue that I'm excited to get a part of. And, you know, I did the movie Patty Cakes a couple years ago.
Mhm.
That was an amazing experience. And, you know, it paid off really well in a lot of different aspects. And I'm really proud to have been a part of it. And that just lit a fire as far as doing other things in film and being a storyteller in all these different regards. And it I got the bug from that. I was like, yeah, this is something I think I can pursue and push forward on. And I had ideas already about film and television stuff, but being a part of that made it a reality. Sometimes you just got to see it. Sometimes you got to be a part of it to get it. And that was one of those moments.
Spike Lee reaching out to you on Twitter was huge. For
Yeah.
Spike Lee is my hero. What was it like
Hmm.
shooting the video with him?
Amazing, man. Amazing. The hospitality. He just opened out opened up the doors for us and rolled out the red carpet. Shout out to my man Alex G, who directed the video, man. Alex passed a couple years ago in this big fire that was a big deal all over national news, the Oakland fire.
Man.
It was this big thing all over the news about 4 or 5 years ago. And Alex was a part of that, sadly, but he directed the video. And man, yeah, that was a hell of a moment, man. That was a wild 2 weeks of trying to put this video together because we shot the first scenes, you know, at this crib, a friend of his, the crib or whatever in Sunset Park in Brooklyn. And then 2 weeks later, we shot the stuff with Spike. So it really was like a full-on production because it took weeks to get it all done. And then he took weeks to edit it because it was so special to him. He knocked it out the box, man. He knocked it out. Him and my man Sil, who actually does a lot of work for Meek Mill and Dreamcatchers and all that now. That's Meek thing, Dreamcatchers, right? Yeah.
Oh, Dream Chasers.
Dream Chasers, I'm sorry. Yeah. And yeah, so you know, they did the video and it was a wonderful experience, man. And from that, Spike became fam, you know, from that moment and us building and working together on that, you know, we became fam. And I'm always at the office, I'm always at the events, you know, before COVID, the movie events and the office and all the memorabilia and all that, the block parties, and you know, it's all good.
Mhm. What Would there ever be a chance, you think, for you to produce a hip hop album for one of his movies? Because
I
you
would
you
love
you
to.
could
I
make a
mean,
straight soundtrack just based off of all the brilliant things, because it's like I said at the beginning of the interview, it's straight Brooklyn.
yeah, no, I would love to. You know, obviously that's never been something that's talked about or anything, but I mean that would be a complete honor to do that for any director in any film, but especially for him. That'd be a no-brainer. That would be a huge honor.
100%. You even mentioned on the album, we've heard the story before of you seeing Biggie Smalls in his video shoot for Juicy. Was there any other legendary video shoots that you've seen throughout your time growing up as a kid in Brooklyn?
I don't think so. I'm trying to think now, but I don't think so. I think that was the only shoot that I saw or was on from afar. Oh no, well I wasn't a kid. I was an adult, but the Everybody Knows video with Nerd, I was there. I was on that. I don't remember if they put that out, but I was definitely on set for that. Because I met Pharrell and I put up a picture last year of like a throwback Thursday of me and Pharrell. That all the girls standing in the line for the bathroom. I was there. I was kind of floating around in the video, but I don't think they put that out or they reshot it or something. But I was there for that. That was cool. But not really, you know, not really as far as other videos, just my videos. I
Yeah.
mean, that's it.
And now, when you saw Biggie, he was wearing the bad boy jersey, the yellow bad boy jersey. Was that what it was?
No, that scene was at night. It was a scene
Okay.
where they was walking up the block in front of they was walking in front of the chicken spot. They was on the corner of Fulton and St. James in front of the beauty salon. It used to be a beauty salon. They was over there. Um yeah, it's a scene. He got on a white t-shirt and it looks like the cops are arresting him or
Mhm.
something like that. And it's some dudes doing pull-ups on the light, you know, on the light pole or whatever. That scene I remember vividly, like, oh snap, because that was during the daytime and right outside, you know, and the neighborhood was kind of just all around watching. And it was like, yo, like what is going on? Like it was the coolest thing we had ever seen.
That's something that you do in your videos as well. When you go back and look at all your music videos on YouTube, is that you keep the essence of real New York music videos. Now it's, hey, let's go rent a car and put all the money bags in the video. You still keep
Right.
it urban-y and true to the root of hip hop.
Yeah, I shoot the majority of my videos in my neighborhood. You know, I've shot videos in other places, but 90% of my videos are in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
To the point where now I kind of can't shoot anymore in my neighborhood because I've used the neighborhood to death.
Yeah.
So like I kind of can't shoot any more videos in my neighborhood because I've done it all already. Like I've shot on every corner, every block, in front of every store. I kind of can't. Yeah.
Yeah. You were also featured on one of my favorite Diamond D songs of all time, Where's the Love, off the Dime Piece.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Shout to Diamond D, legend, of course, hip hop legend, and very good friend of mine. And it's always dope working with him, whether it was on that or the Gotham joint, or you know, it's always dope.
Mhm. You've also worked with EPMD.
Yeah, a
That's
lot of
crazy.
legends, man. EPMD, who I love, you know, Eric and Parrish, of course. I've worked with so many people. I've been blessed to work with so many people, man, that I grew up listening to and people that I'm a fan of still to this day. You know, when it comes to this, I'm a fan first. You know,
Yeah.
as much as I am an artist, you got to remain a fan first or you'll lose your edge, you know? So I'm a fan first.
What was the most surreal moment for you, whether it be a collaboration or just something that you took part of in hip hop that was just so surreal for you as a fan, and able to take part in it? I'd probably say more as a collaboration that you just couldn't believe it. Like,
Okay.
wow, I did a song with this legend.
I think the Spike stuff,
Mhm.
the Jada Kiss stuff, working with Jada and Styles, of course. Me and Styles worked a couple times. Me and Jada only worked once, but me and Styles got a couple records. Uh, what else? As far as a collaborator, yeah, of course, Black Thought, Kweli, you know, all those guys for sure. As far as collaborating, it probably would be that stuff. And connecting with Spike on that was pretty huge. You know, doing the video, he brought it up. You know, I wasn't even thinking shooting a video for that would be an option. He said it. He was like, "So we shooting the video, right?" And I was like, yeah, hell yeah." And that was it. Then I got on the phone with Alex. Yo, listen, we about to shoot this video, bro. We got to figure this out. What we got to do? And he was just like, holy shit. I bet I'm gonna start writing the treatment. And it was just on. It was like a couple kids in the candy store. We was just so excited.
What has he said about your raps behind the scenes? What did he say about it? Because he's probably someone that sticks true to the root of hip hop as well.
Oh yeah, he's a super fan and supporter, man. You know, if he wasn't, he wouldn't have did the video. He
Yeah.
wouldn't have, co-signed the record all over the internet. So 100%. He's a super supporter and fan, and he knows what I'm doing. And, Spike is Brooklyn everything. So it's all love.
And he's a Knicks fan, which is not a Net fan.
And
He's a Knicks
there it
fan.
is. There
That's
it is. The first thing he said when we shot the video, because I had on the Knicks gear and all that, and I had on the royal blue foams, the penny joints.
Mhm.
And the first thing he said when we showed up at the office to shoot the video, he was like, my brother Sky got on the Nick foams, you know what I mean? Because I had the royal blue foams on, so he's nicked out. It's the first thing he notices with everything in life. If it's some Nick shit, he's going to notice it a mile away,
Yeah, the Knicks. Before I let you go, we got to have a quick Knicks conversation here. The Knicks, unfortunately, didn't get past the Atlanta Hawks. You have the Hawks still in it. Can't stand Trae Young. F Trae Young. I go with the crowds and with the Knicks fans, and especially the 76er crowd was giving it to him, too. He's just an annoying player. He's the new Reggie Miller, in my opinion. Who do you think the Knicks should pick up in this offseason? I think they need a good ball handler. I think they need a point guard. And I think they really need a big center because Mitchell Robinson, to me, he's just not the guy. I think a great ball handling point guard who could possibly be a gunner as well as a really solid center.
We need a real shooter that can either be at the 3 and leave RJ at the 2, or at the 2 and push RJ up to the 3 because he's 6'7", 200, whatever. So he's built like a small forward. And we need an elite point guard or a point guard with an elite IQ. My first choice would be Lonzo based on realistic options out there because the free agent class is kind of weak. The free agent class is really weak. So you got to keep that in mind. You got to keep age and timeline in mind, and you got to keep skill and capability in mind. So my first choice would be Lonzo because the guys you want like Dame and all them, you're not getting them. You're not getting Dame. No. You got years left on that contract. You're going to have to give up the farm for him. Everybody who you would want to play with him, you'd have to give up just to make the money work. Like people just try to swap people out. You would have to give up Julius because you got to make the money work. So you can't just say, take 30 picks. That doesn't equal the $35 million a year that he's getting. You got to make the money work. So Julius would have to go. Right there, you veto the trade because you want him to play with Julius, So I love Dame. Dame would be perfect, but that's not going to happen. Lonzo is a reality, and I've always loved Lonzo. I think Lonzo is very underrated. He's a magnificent passer, great handles, great defense, and his jumper is getting better. Not sure what else you want or what else you need out of that. And when you got a roster around him, you got somebody like Julius. And the funny thing is him and Julius are really good friends. They've been friends since the Laker days. So they're really, really close. Right. That would actually make Julius really happy if they went and got Lonzo. So Lonzo would be great. We need a sniper in that starting lineup. Every starting lineup has a sniper that's really doing something. You got one guy who he's a 40+% shooter from 3 every night, and the guys that we're throwing in the starting lineup at the 3 spot, they cool, but it's not nobody who you should be running out in your starting lineup to go out there and guarantee you to get 4 or 5 threes a night, hit 4 or 5 threes a night. I'm like, that's what you need, in this NBA. So we need a sniper in the starting lineup. We need a real point guard once and for all. Plus Lonzo's like 23. So he's got experience, but he's super young. You can bank on him for another 5-10 years to be with the franchise if he does the right thing. And I agree with the center thing. I like the idea of Mitchell, but I don't like the development, and I like Mitchell a lot, but I don't see the development where it needs to be. There's a lot of players that came in when he came in and they developed quicker. Some of it is health, and that's not his fault. You can't dictate health, but some of it also is just real development, He got the tools, he got the intangibles. He's just really raw. So, you really need somebody on him to help with that. I'm a big fan of getting former NBA players to train current NBA players. I've always been of that. So when like Amari got with Olajuwon, I thought that was wonderful. Stuff like that. And I always line up people with who they should get with. And I think Mitchell should get with somebody like David Robinson. I feel like that's his exact prototype. The tall, lanky, skinny but not skinny, muscular but still slender center who has great footwork and is fast and can hop up quickly. I think David Robinson would be the perfect person for him to work with, even more so than Olajuwon or Shaq or somebody like that because of how he's built. Who knows? I pretty sure that those conversations aren't what's being had. You know what I
You
mean?
know?
But if I'm Mitchell Robinson, I put 100,000 in a duffel bag and I go to San Antonio and I get with David Robinson for 2 weeks. You know, if I'm RJ, I put 100,000 in the duffel bag and I get with Chris Mullin for 2 weeks because he's a left-handed sniper.
Mm-hmm.
RJ needs to gun it. He needs to be able to shoot. Yeah, I love RJ. Love the pick. Wanted it more than anything. But you can't be a starting two guard and you can't be a starting shooting guard and can't shoot. So
You can't.
he's a lefty. So get him with a lefty shooter. You can't get him with James Harden because that's the enemy. That would be the perfect person for him to work with, but he's not gonna do it because that's the enemy. And I respect that. Call Chris Mullin. Put 100,000 in the duffel bag and call Chris Mullin. Yo, let me get with you for 2 weeks. Done deal.
Yeah.
You know, those are the types of things that should happen, you know?
Yeah. Oh, it should. I agree with you 100% on getting the former NBA players to train with the current ones. And, you know, I think the Nets look like a bunch of clowns because they went out and got all this all-star talent, still didn't do anything. And I got to read articles, and even Steve Kerr today, seeing an Instagram clip of him saying that KD is a different breed from Michael Jordan. I mean, I guess we have short-term memory loss because KD is still a cupcake. KD's a cupcake. I'm sorry. He didn't want to come to the Knicks. You know, he didn't want the spotlight.
Right. You know, I don't agree with Kerr on that, but I know what he was trying to say. We've never seen a 7-foot guy who could be a point guard, shooting guard. And that's what he was trying to say. Mm-hmm. He just didn't say it right. Yeah. Because nobody's like Mike. Nobody. No. You know what I mean? Period. Kevin Durant will tell you he ain't like Mike. Yeah. You know what I mean? So what he was trying to say was we never seen nobody this unique. He is 7 feet, clearly. Like he's 7 foot all day, but he played like a point guard, shooting guard. He is a sniper from everywhere on the court. If he wants 2 points, you're not going to stop him. If he wants 3 points, you're not going to stop him. If he wants 4 points, you're not going to stop him. You know what I mean? Like point blank. On the defensive end, it's different because he's so skinny, you know, and he tries to play good defense, but he's so skinny, it's easy for him to get muscled out depending on who he's guarding. Like you can't have him guard Giannis. Like Giannis is too strong. If Giannis does the right thing. Now, if Giannis wants to pretend to be KD and go out on the wing and shoot threes all day, then yeah, KD can stop him. But if Giannis muscles his way into the paint like he normally does, KD can't stop that, you know? So there's those different things, but he's super unique, man. He's an incredible player, man. So I get what Steve Kerr was trying to say. He just ain't really say it right.
Yeah, no. And I don't agree with Stephen A. Smith's. He's coming to the conclusion too fast here about being the greatest player to ever put on a New York jersey. He didn't win anything this year. Is that a release?
Nah, I didn't know he said that. No, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And he's a Knicks fan. It's like, I don't ever speak those words again. I don't want to see him at the Garden. And does that erase what Willis Reed did? Does that erase what Patrick Ewing did? And to bring up something about Patrick Ewing, which you may agree with me on, do you feel as though that Patrick Ewing is a disrespected center because everyone looks at the negative of Patrick Ewing? They remember when he missed the shot against Indiana, that finger roll from that play in the playoffs in which he missed that shot, or when he gets dunked on by Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Everyone remembers the negatives of Patrick Ewing, but if you look at the positives, one of the greatest players of all time, especially as a center.
I think he gets his love. I think when people talk about the centers of the 90s, I think he does get his love. Obviously winning the ring would change things, but I think he gets his love. The more the merrier. So I ain't going to say he's fine and he gets too much love. Nah, the more the merrier, but he gets his just due. People love Pat, especially in New York. People love Pat. You hear Shaq saying his favorite player growing up was Pat. Yeah. He said that on the record 30 times. Like, when I was a kid, I wanted to be Patrick Ewing, so he get his love, for sure.
Yeah, Patrick Ewing, one of the greatest of all time. And I agree with you. Get Lonzo Ball. They got to pull the trigger at some point and pull a trade, I think. But they can't give up these assets because there goes Emmanuel quickly. Like you said, there goes Julius Randle. They're going to have to give up something big, and it's like you can't do that. And
well, that's why I don't think there's going to be a big, massive trade because you'd have to give up all the stuff that you want to put with the player that's coming in. It'd have to be a mid-level trade that makes sense, that we don't see it as making that much sense. Like Alonzo, even though he's a restricted free agent, like that type of player, you know what I mean? Or, I like DeMar DeRozan a lot, but RJ is DeMar DeRozan, so I wouldn't do that because they're the exact same player. They're shooting guards who can't shoot. Now, granted, DeMar DeRozan is better because he's more seasoned and he can do more and he can go get you 35 twice a week if you really, really need him to. DeMar DeRozan's great. But RJ is the new DeMar DeRozan, so we don't really need to do that because we have it already. They need a sniper, man. They need a real sniper in that starting lineup. Having Reggie Bullock off the bench is cool. Having Alec Burks off the bench is really dope. They need a real sniper in the starting lineup. And the Knicks aren't going to take 4 rookies this year. First of all, Tibbs don't like messing with rookies unless he's forced to. Second of all, they got too many players on the team already that are under contract, so they can't even just let them go. So they're not taking 4 rookies. They are going to package that up and move up. They have to. They're probably going to wind up with 2 picks, maybe 1 if they're lucky and they can package all that up to move into the top 10. But I don't know if that's going to happen. But they'll probably get a late lottery pick, and then they'll keep maybe the Dallas pick or something because that was like 21. But they're going to package and move up. There's no way in the world they're taking 4 kids. They're not going to do it.
No, they're not going to do
it. Get ready for a trade on draft night of the Knicks trade all 4 picks for the number 7 pick from Orlando or something like that, which is great. I would love that because you're getting a stud. You know what I mean? Like, I would love that, but if we stuck with where we are, I like Jared Butler a lot, even though he has a heart condition and that's starting to come out now. And now he has to sign a waiver. Like teams have, I think physicians have to sign waivers every time he plays now because the heart condition is real. And that really, really sucks. It's like the kid, I think his name was Austin out of Baylor as well. So that really, really sucks. I hope he's all right. I like Jared Butler a lot. I really like the kid, Chris Duarte, the Spanish kid. I think he's great. I think he would be wonderful as a 2 guard with RJ. 6'5" sniper who plays defense, and he's 23. So even though he's older, he's a senior, he's ready. He's not a kid. I like him a lot. One of my mans is a trainer, an NBA trainer, and a really good friend of mine. And he's talking about Kai Jones a lot. And he's like, yo, Kai Jones is the one, bro. He's a big Knicks fan, and he's like, if we get Kai Jones, we set. So I'm going to take his word on it and do some research on Kai Jones. But there's pieces there, obviously – that top 10 is what it's about. But there's pieces, man. Corey Kispert, point blank. If he's there, you grab him. But he ain't going to be there at 19.
Yeah.
And if they move up and get him at 10 or something, you're set. Yeah. You got a better Steve Novak in the starting lineup. You're set. Like, that's the type of player I'm talking about.
That's what I was just going to bring up because I said Gunner. That you keep saying Gunner. Remember, Novak he was Steph Curry before Steph Curry with the 3-pointers.
I don't know about that, but he was.
I think so. He was a gunner.
He was a gunner. Steph is a bazooka, but but he was a gunner though, man. He was a gunner for sure. You know what I mean? He came in and did his job. We need somebody in that starting lineup who puts fear in the other team's heart from 3. Mm-hmm. And that's the way. That's how Randall's gonna work. That's how RJ is gonna work because they're gonna be so worried about Kispert that they gotta leave them alone. And then they just gonna go in there and get 25, So that's what it's about, man.
Mm-hmm. It felt good not seeing the Knicks in the draft lottery last night. I felt as though that they were in it because I said, "Oh, where are they picking?" Because we're so used to getting into the draft lottery, but they had a great season. So
it was a great change of pace for us.
Yeah, thank God, because I'm tired of being looked at as the joke of the NBA, and we're finally moving forward here. Tibbs is doing his thing, even though I had a problem with him when I had Frank Isola on my show. I said that guy's going to ruin RJ's knees. I was wrong, as I always admit when I'm the first to admit when I'm wrong. And yeah, Tibbs has been doing his thing in the Knicks and all the success to them in the upcoming years. But do you have a St. John's story? Because this is St. John's University, being from Brooklyn and your father living in Queens.
I don't, man. I really don't. I mean, I always rocked with them because it was New York, but I don't really have a St. John's story like that. I mean, Felipe obviously was great, and he ran all that. And it was dope that he got to the league. You wanted to see him really flourish, and we all thought he would. But getting to the league is A1 in its own, so that's wonderful. I think about the Felipe days and all that type of stuff. I'm not really the biggest college basketball follower. Mm-hmm. I'm not one of those who follows it day in and day out. I'm the guy who follows it once the Sweet 16 and the 8 and all that happened. I'm not the super college follower guy. I'm the NBA guy. I follow every game in the NBA.
Yeah, and I get you on that. And go Knicks tape. I saw that you're finally getting back out on the road. You're in LA tomorrow.
LA tomorrow, Tampa in a couple days. Then I'm back in New York for something, and then some other stuff out of town. And so it's good to kind of get back to the world. We're still being safe.
Yeah,
I'm vaccinated. And I still wear the mask as if I wasn't. We're getting back to it, but it's good.
Yeah. And thank God that we're getting back to real life slowly but surely. And then you're able to
Yeah.
perform. And I'm sure you're looking forward to perform the new album because
Yep.
it's a blessing for your fans, I'll tell you that. I'm telling you, it's
Thank you,
right up
man.
there for album of the year. One of the best hip hop albums I've heard in a while. I mean, if we're
Wow.
talking cinematic, I'm just gonna tell it like it is because as much as I do like the Dave East and Griselda, I mean, this is like an actual art body of work we're talking about here, like art
Yeah.
body.
Man, thank you, man. I appreciate that 100%. You know, I've been hearing that so much, but it never gets old. Every time I hear it, it's like the first time hearing it, and that's the way it should be. You know, and I appreciate that 100% from you and all the people, man. And I appreciate you having me, you know, up here. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate us taking all this time. You know, I know we at the end of the line. I appreciate you taking this time with me, and you know, us kicking it.
Oh, of course, Skyzoo. You know you're always welcome on the show. Anything that you need from me, anything else you love to tell the audience, you're free to do that here now.
For sure, man. Shout out to everybody listening, everybody watching, tapping in, all the love, man, and all the love on the album. All the brilliant things is available right now. It's everywhere, and the way people are talking about it is what I foresaw based on the message I was given in the music and just the time and energy that went forward that was put forth on the craft. So I appreciate everybody, every note, everybody, you know, saluting on it. It means a ton, man. And you know, Instagram at Skyzoo the writer, Twitter at Skyzoo. I'm around, you know, much love.
Yeah, much love. I want to thank you, everyone that tuned in here today, especially Skyzoo for coming on the show for an interview. Make sure you go check out his new album, All the Brilliant Things. It's a hip hop masterpiece. Go check it out, especially if you're in tune with my show. Of course, as you know, we cover the true school hip hop, and we do give you that other sound that's out there because you have everyone that loves all types of hip hop in the audience. So thank you for tuning in, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. And Skyzoo, enjoy the rest of yours as well.
Yeah, yeah.